Welcome to Liquid Courage, the podcast where I, Amanda Pereira, sit down with a fellow artist that I admire and ask them the questions I've never had the guts to ask them before. Sounds scary? Yeah, it really is. So I use a little liquid courage in the form of my guest's favorite drink. We cheers, chat, and connect as I attempt to soak up all the wisdom they have to offer. Today I sit down with Lauren Collins and we sip on some white wine together. Lauren is an actor and writer, best known for her portrayal of Paige Michalchuk on the international hit series Degrassi. A three-time Canadian Screen Award nominee, some highlights from Lauren's 25-year-long career include The Kroll Show, The Strain, Take the Lead starring Antonio Banderas, and Charlie Bartlett starring Robert Downey Jr. Most recently, you can catch Lauren guest starring on What We Do in the Shadows and the Roku series Slip from writer-director Zoe Lister-Jones. In this episode, Lauren and I get to chat about her short film Zero Recognition, which she co-wrote and co-starred in with actor Ben Lewis. The film premiered at the 2015 Toronto International Film Festival and was a Vimeo Featured Staff Pick. Their follow-up short film, Apart from Everything, starring Emmy-winner Tatiana Maslany, was shown at dozens of festivals including LA Outfest and New York Newfest. The duo's first feature film script, More Than a Friend, was selected for the CFC Comedy Lab and the prestigious BlackList Live Read at the Brooklyn Academy of Music. You might also recognize Lauren as one of the hosts from MTV's One Girl, Five Gays, one of my personal favorites. So Lauren is an actor, a writer, and someone I admire immensely. Hi, Lauren.
Hey, Amanda, how's it going?
So good. I'm so excited to talk with you today. Typically when I get nervous, I get a little sweaty. And so I'm in like shorts right now because I'm like, I'm going to get so nervous and warm. I wore the least amount of clothing.
It's what is it, October 5th?
Yes.
But it's like 35 degrees outside. Like, what is happening? The world is ending.
I know. I think I got a burn last weekend, and I was like, how is this happening?
I know. I'm having like night sweats.
Yeah.
We don't have central air, so
no.
it is very hot. But no need to be nervous.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm so
Yes.
excited. This is going to be a great conversation.
Oh, I'm so glad that, it will be. It will be. No, I'm so glad that you're here. And you've had such a, I want to preface, you've had such a long career and like a full career. You've worked on so many projects. So I might jump around a little bit. And if you're starting to get whiplash, be like, okay, stick to an area. But I'm going to try and like go chronological in my head a little bit, if that makes sense.
Okay, sure.
And to start off today, so we are drinking some white wine. So lovely for a daytime.
I know, but I'm kind of embarrassed by like the basicness of it all.
Oh, you can't. Oh, hey, both stemless. Look at that. Oh,
Okay,
cheers, Laura. Oh, cute. No, it's not a basicness. It's perfect for the daytime.
Especially with the heat. Oh God, it's refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah. If you would have, if you would have picked like, I don't know, a Negroni for the afternoon, I would have, and like in the heat, I would have been like, oh, can we? No, I would have done it, but I would have wished inside.
What's the
we
worst
could have
drink you've
changed.
had to? What's the worst drink you've had to?
I've had, well, with Knox, we just had like vodka.
Yeah, that is.
Which was a lot. Very fun, but with Alice Moran, I think we just had like scotch. And that ended up being, this was in my early days. It ended up being like a 5-hour conversation because we kind of hung out after. So it was just a lot of scotch.
The
It
scotch
tasted
was
great.
flowing.
Yeah,
The
it's
scotch
just
was
strong.
flowing.
Yeah. But
It really is. That's a good for like if we were, it was like a February podcast.
yes. And it's like 7
Right?
p.m.
Yes. Got a fire going.
Oh,
then,
a fire.
Then maybe I could get down with sipping some scotch. Not like I've ever sipped scotch in my life, but
It's surprisingly good. Like, I just thought I didn't like it based on its reputation. I have no idea.
Sure, or like
and then
drinking
trying it was great. Or
when I
drinking
was
it.
like way too young to
Right.
appreciate it,
Yeah.
and like shooting it just for the sake
Yes.
of getting drunk.
Yeah, and you're like,
Yikes.
this is fire. This tastes like fire, and I hate it. Yeah, now you're like, pop an ice cube in there, and it's
Why
or pop a
not?
rock in there, and it's fabulous. Yeah,
Or those big like round ice cubes, the giant ones. Yeah, I don't know what they're
That's
called,
what
but
I want. Yeah. I want one of those.
It looks
well,
great.
okay. I feel like I have to start at Degrassi. I feel embarrassed even saying it because I feel like you just get asked about it constantly. But I do want to preface, we're not going to stay at Degrassi. Not that you have an issue with that, but I'm just like, I know you get
I
asked about it all
stayed
the
there
time.
long enough,
You
didn't
did
I?
stay there long time. So for people who have been, speaking of rocks with Scotch, people who have been living under a rock, you played Paige for almost a decade. I think it was like around 150 episodes, like plus a movie.
So crazy.
Wild.
Something like that.
Wild. So playing a character for that long, how do you keep the character, I'm like selfishly asking for myself as an actor, how do you keep that character fresh for yourself rather than like going into autopilot?
You know, it's interesting because she went through so much. So
she really did. Poor Paige.
Like everyone who attends that cursed high school, she really had a lot thrown at her.
She did.
So, you know, ever evolving. I think where Paige started as a character was very, very different from where she wound up, you know, kind of like your two-dimensional or like one-dimensional mean girl off the top. And you know, obviously a lot of the things that were thrown at her kind of forced her to like mature rather quickly. So there was a lot of material to work with over the years. Another thing that I know I've talked about this before, but it really is true. I think because we were all so young and we played these characters for so long and we got to know everyone who worked on the show so well, I kind of think at a certain point the writers started, you know, the lines were blurred between the characters and the real life actors. So I think the writers started to bring in elements of our own personality into each of the characters. They just kind of started to blend together a little bit. So maybe, I don't know, that also probably helped like the evolution of her as a character. But yeah, I mean, I think the sort of, it was such a gift to play a character for so long and to have so much to do over so much time. But of course, the downside of that is then when it's over, you are obviously very much associated with that character.
Yes.
So yeah, I think the real challenge is kind of after the fact, trying to think of ways to, you know, bring something new to a new role, try to reinvent yourself in any way you can. That's kind of that's been the challenge. That's been the challenge for me anyways.
Yeah.
Even still, like, my God, how many years ago was that? I'm like still coming up against that.
Yeah. Well, and because so many people recognize you from Degrassi, or that was their like first introduction to you, even if they know your credits since, when you meet new people, do you ever, because I feel like I would do this, do you ever find yourself like wondering what they think of you or what they assume they know about you because they're like connecting you to Paige? Yeah. What do you feel like pressure to correct them? Like how that seems like a very uncomfortable or awkward interaction.
I would say you're probably getting to the root of like my deepest insecurities.
Oh no, we're like 5 minutes in. My bad.
No, but it's so true. I think being an actor on anything that is like even slightly recognizable, you know, you're always going to feel somewhere deep down, well, is this the only thing that people find interesting about me? Is this the thing that they're trying to get to? Is this what they want to talk about? Especially, let me tell you, happily married now, but dating, like, certainly that is something that would constantly be like bubbling at the surface for me. Aww. Like, is this the only reason that they're interested? And truthfully, sometimes it was. And I found that out, you know, the hard way a couple of times. But
like that ulterior motive, like, and yeah, that would feel so icky. And then even if it's not that case, like, because you've been proven right so many times, you're just stuck in almost like you could be gaslighting yourself when you're like, no, I knew it. That right. is what they were thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. But, you know, it's not, you know, it's a conversation starter, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you know, it's always something to talk about, which is nice. Not that I, you know, want to just sit there and talk about myself, but I actually, and I'm sure this would come up at some point in this conversation, but when I started getting into like writing and stuff, the first thing that I wrote was a short film called Zero Recognition that basically deals with this exact feeling. And it was me I wrote with my best friend and one of my writing partners, Ben Lewis, and we were like, okay, what should we write about? We want to write something to act in. And we had this idea that was funny where I was basically playing like a heightened version of myself. And it was like, I don't think it was even until after we made it, like not even after we wrote it, but like after we shot it, where we really started realizing like what themes we were talking about and what this was like tackling for me in particular. Like this feeling of constantly being watched and, what are people's intentions, and also how you can get comfortable with that. Like that's sort of the joke in the short is like I'm on a date with this guy and I'm completely just like drowning in my own insecurities thinking that he obviously just wants to talk about me being on a TV show, when the reality is like he has literally no idea who I am and could care less. So I found a way to channel those insecurities into the creative process, I guess.
Yeah, I think you did it in such a fabulous way. Like I watched Zero Recognition and it like made me laugh out loud. The way that the way you narrated the thoughts in your head, like I was just laughing by myself watching it in my office while like my partner was in the living room like, what are you watching? And I'm like, shh, something's on. You did it was so, I loved that you like talked about this space in between feeling like you feel like you're very recognizable, but you also maybe don't feel like you're famous. And so
not
it's
at all.
that like
not at all.
I think many people would think you're famous, but what's important to the writing is that you feel like you're not famous, right?
Yeah.
And that space between.
Certainly do not.
Yeah.
I mean, just
so
like,
interesting.
Fame has all of these connotations of like, wealth and extravagance and like a lavish lifestyle, and like certainly that's not what I'm living with day to day.
You don't have AC, Lauren. Like, what are we?
Right? Exactly. Like, I sure don't. So yeah. So I think we really wanted to just speak to that, and I'm so glad you liked it. It's so funny. I haven't watched it. It's now like, we made it so many years ago. Oh my God, almost 10 years ago, which is nuts. But I'm glad it still hits.
Oh, still hits.
It's good to know.
It still hits. It was great. Well, yeah, it sounds like a lot of pressure. And like, I mean, one of the last things I want to ask you about Degrassi, I'm being meta right now because I'm going, but is just that like, because you're talking about this pressure from like others and things. And when I imagine, you started this role when you were 15. And when I imagine playing a character, if I'm 15, who's like the hot, cool girl, that feels like a lot of pressure, Lauren. Like I would rather play like the loser archetype because I don't know, that feels like so much pressure. And I know you have shared too in interviews where like some of the wardrobe sometimes was uncomfortable because you're like, I'm going through puberty, and yet it's like a midriff. Yeah. So I feel like it makes you vulnerable for people being like, you're not that hot or you're not that cool. Like it makes me terrified. Like, was there a lot of pressure in that archetype, playing that archetype?
Absolutely. And like, thank God for the majority of my time on the show, this is like pre-social media.
Right. Yes.
Thank God, because I don't know what that would have done to my self-esteem. And kudos to anyone on a teen show right now who is going through something similar, because people are mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
As we know, the internet, social media just gives like everyone a soapbox to say whatever they want. And it's way easier to say things hiding behind a phone or a computer than it is, to someone's face. But like, we used to look at the message boards because that's what we were using back then, and people awful. So like, for sure that was a challenge.
Yeah.
Definitely it was difficult. And I don't think I really, again, this is all stuff that I feel like I was processing,
of course,
later.
Yeah. Because you were 15. Yeah. Like you were a child.
Yeah, I was a child. Like being 15 anyways is a real mind fuck, right? Yeah. Like just trying to get by in regular high school. But I was doing that and then also having a similar experience as a character on television.
Yeah.
I think the wardrobe is really the stuff that will haunt me. And it's so funny. I was literally having this conversation with my agent like 2 days ago where I swore up and down to him. I was like, I promise I will advocate for myself from now on
Aw.
if someone tells me to wear something that I do not feel comfortable in, because I just was in that position so many times. And look, it's not like, I mean, it was a kids TV show. It's not like I was being asked to do like nudity or anything like that. Excuse me. But, you know, definitely there were things that I was not comfortable in that was like showing too much of my body. And like, if I did even kind of like voice it, it was like, that's the character. But you're, we got, you know, we got, that's Paige. That's what we love about Paige. We love her crazy style. We love her provocative style. So I kind of just, you know, put my head down and went forward anyways.
Yeah.
But now I like to think that if anything were to come up, like all of that past shit is gonna, you know, give me the strength to stand up for what I want. And if I, you know, had to fight for something on set, I really hope I would.
Yeah. Well, I think it takes a while even to like recognize or give yourself permission that that's actually an option. Like, I think oftentimes
totally
you don't even think that you're allowed to, especially if it's like, well, but that's Paige. That's what we love about Paige. And it's like, well, I don't want to take away what you love about Paige, but like, there's other things. And like,
as a 15-year-old in the industry, like, I certainly didn't think I had that authority. I mean, you know, it was overall for me like a really wonderful experience, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. But it was not like being on other sets. Like, we were very much treated like children in a school, with like a principal figure and like teacher figures.
Like, I would get
It really was like, I you know, we used to eventually, like, when we all got our licenses and you know, we were on TV, so we were making decent money, and some of us were able to get cars and earlier than maybe some of our friends, and we started driving ourselves to set, and we weren't allowed to get like fobs to get into the parking lot. I think because there was like some kind of weird like control thing, like they didn't want us having our own cars there, or there was a lot of like strange power struggles as we were, because you know, when I ended the show I was like 23 or something, right? So you know, I was an adult. Yeah.
Maybe it was hard for them to like see you all as full adults just yet or something.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it was. Yeah.
Well, I think it's so amazing that you were able to take those like experiences and feelings that maybe you couldn't like articulate at the time, but then able to make and like communicate it through a project later, that you had a bit more autonomy and that you were like running. So when you find yourself in those situations, like in Zero Recognition, where you're on a date and you're like, oh my God, do they just want information about Degrassi? Like, oh my God, never mind, they don't know who I am. Are they lying? Like that kind of thing. How do you, like, Lauren, how do you stay present in social interactions with people? How do you navigate out of that?
It's probably why, well, thinking like in, you know, certainly in like a dating, like romantic sense, it's probably why I ended up marrying an actor who I've known since I was 14 years old or whatever. You know, there's a lot of trust there.
Yeah.
But I do think, you know, that probably does speak to why I wound up with someone who, you know, kind of like knew me from before that. And also, you know, not just romantic relationships, but my best friends are my best friends from high school. Like my group of core girls, my best friends in the whole world, they've known me forever. So I know that there's not like any kind of ulterior motive with them. And again, it's like, I feel so silly even talking about this because I'm like not famous, not particularly cool. Like, there's not really, like, sure, if you're like a diehard Drake fan, then like maybe there's something in it for you to like talking to me about Degrassi. But yeah, still, even knowing all of that, yes, those things did plague me at a point.
Yeah. I can understand, like, I think it speaks to your humility that you're like, I'm not, like, you know, whatever. But I think it's fine for me to say that, like, reality is, I mean, first of all, you're an actor. So even in that, people wouldn't know me from anything as an actor, and I still get some of the questions that you get. I just don't have the fun answers to give. Do you know what I mean? Like, so
totally.
Just you being an actor, and then also you have acted, I mean, first of all, you have such an impressive career in what you've
Thank
done
you.
with animation and hosting and writing and producing yourself and acting. And you have consistently worked after Degrassi. So like that's very impressive. And then you've worked with a lot of big names.
It didn't feel consistent all the time. I'll tell you that much. I feel incredibly lucky to still be able to do this, but hills and valleys. Right?
Hills and valleys. I just want to like hardcore validate the feeling of like, ooh, are they ulterior motive-y? Because you have reason to feel that way. And you are also very humble, and you clearly have a lot of humility. So maybe it's harder for you to see, but
thank you.
You have a lot of things. If people love, what's his name? Robert Downey Jr. If people there's a lot of people that you have worked with. Zoe Lister-Jones. I'm like, oh my gosh, hello. Yeah, so anyway, you have a lot of people. Yeah, that
was a very exciting.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to ask you about that because I'm like, I can't wait to watch that. Okay, so with writing and producing, I guess I am curious, like, so I also write my own stuff, and I'm curious for you, like, what does writing and producing give you that maybe you don't get in acting, or maybe you do get in acting, but like, what really fills your cup about writing and producing?
It's so funny because like immediately my first response was going to be control.
100%.
But, like,
I mean, yeah, of course.
Which I'm striving for like in every aspect of my life constantly.
Same.
But now having, and it did like with zero recognition with something like that, like with a couple of the feature scripts that I've written, like absolutely getting to create these worlds and roles for hopefully myself, maybe, or people that I love or people that I respect. Like, yes, does that give me control? Of course. And that's like a wonderful freeing feeling when when your career is like, just like 100% dependent on other people and factors that are like so out of your control. But what I'm realizing now, like, 10 years into writing and trying to like make my own stuff, that you're still always waiting on someone else to give you, a green light, or like, I just went through a whole round of pitching something that just felt like such a slam dunk. And you're still just completely at the mercy of
other people. I know, of the money.
But
it
is freeing. It is freeing. Without a doubt, there is more freedom in writing and producing and creating your own work than just sitting around and waiting for the phone to ring, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Even if it takes a while, you're like, well, I can still act through all the process of the writing and the producing. Like, you just
totally.
It's just a long game.
I do, I try to keep my hand in as many pots as possible, and I feel like this is why we've probably crossed paths before. But like, I work with a casting director, and I read in casting sessions all the time, and it's such a wonderful, I tell any actor, if you have the opportunity to do it, to be a reader in casting, like take it, because you really do learn so much about how the other side of the business works in great ways and in frustrating ways, because it really does kind of hammer it home, that idea of like, it's just so completely out of your control.
Absolutely. You can be amazing. Actually, my first job as a reader was for Degrassi.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, full circle was for Degrassi. And then I got to do some callbacks like on set, and it was so fun. And I almost used the fake bathroom because, my God, it looks real. Like, my God.
We shot in one of the real bathrooms.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, that confuses me even more. No, I don't.
I know.
I'm like, was I in a real bathroom? I don't think I was.
Because like,
I think I was in a set bathroom. I don't know.
Okay, because like, they're definitely like one of the main bathrooms, like in the production office was like I hate this word, but like iconic girls' bathroom from Degrassi, where like so many things happen in that bathroom. Like that's where like Emma got her period, and like I give her a tampon.
Yes. Okay.
Like,
I was not in that bathroom. That makes me feel good. Okay. So it was probably a set bathroom.
It was a set.
Okay. It was smaller, and and I only knew because I looked. It had all these posters and stuff, and I'm like, these don't feel. Hold on a second.
Strange.
There's no location technically on this like band this concert. And then I'm like, oh my god, get out, find the real bathroom. But anyway, full circle.
Hilarious.
I didn't even clue into that. But yeah, that was. And I found out that after hours of reading for the callback, I was pronouncing a word wrong, and I'm like, it would have been great if somebody told me ahead of time. But I feel like, was anybody like, I don't know, if I walked into an audition and I have Lauren Collins like as the reader, I'm gonna be like, well, damn, just hire her. Like, I don't know. Do you?
I wish.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm unrecognizable, and so I feel like that helps as a reader. Did you ever?
I think now, like I've been doing it for so long, and I think like, you know, a lot of actors that come in sort of just like know to like expect me or could, you know, that it's very possible that I could be reading with them. There's definitely been a few times where like a younger actor has come in and maybe recognized me from whether it was Degrassi or whatever. And I felt terrible because I'm like, did I just completely throw their audition?
Oh no, that's not on you. No.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, no, it's, I love doing it. It's like, it's amazing experience.
Yeah, it's so great. I think I would feel very comforted if I walked into an audition and you were the reader, because I'd be like, oh, first of all, she's so talented. Like, I'm in good hands here. Like, I'm acting with an experienced actor.
It makes a difference. It really makes a difference. Like, I know for myself auditioning, like, it sucks when you go in and, you know, maybe there's like a casting assistant or someone who's reading. I find that happens a lot in the States where you just have like non-actors sort of giving you like nothing.
Yeah. And you're like, I'll just create all of this. No. You're not going to get that with Lauren. So like, I would be appreciative. And you just, I don't know. I feel like you always seem like such a wonderful person. So I'm like, great. They're going to take care of me as a human being, as an actor. I would be happy. I might be a little like giddy and excited, and I just hope that's the character. But then I would feel like I'm in good hands. Absolutely.
Yes. I try to just, you know, really make everyone, because auditions suck. Auditions are awful, right? Like I hear actors all the time say like how much they love the audition process. I'm like, oh my God, it's the worst. It's the worst. So it is certainly on me to make anyone who comes into a room that I'm in like feel as comfortable as possible.
Yeah, I feel the same. Yeah. I'm like, I'm here to take care of you. I'm here to make you look good. Like absolutely.
Totally.
You want a friend. It's like the reader's going to be your best friend. That's the goal. They're going to be your best friend. Even 100%. If in the scene you're supposed to hate them, they're going to be your best friend outside of the scene. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so One Girl, Five Gays. Oh my God, Lauren. I was obsessed.
Really?
Obsessed. Like, that's where I quote you from more than Degrassi. Like,
my God.
Loved you on that show. And can I tell you, I was nervous. I'm sorry, I just cut you off.
No, please.
I was nervous for you when you came on, because I thought, oh my God, it's a show that went for almost 4, I guess like 3.5, and then you came in season 4. But like, it's been going for a while with the same host. I would be a little nervous coming into like an established show hosting.
Oh, I was.
Yeah,
I was.
That's scary.
And I was. And I knew also that like all the guys were, well, I shouldn't say they were all friends, because we know that's not true.
Some of them were not friends. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But there was a lot of history there.
Yes. Yeah.
I honestly think, you know, even just like thinking about it now, I'm sure the only way I was able to do it is because I guess I had kind of come from a similar situation. So I was able to sort of, you know, think about it like from their perspective and like the other side of things. Like, just because with Degrassi, like we were all so kind of close and tight knit and like knew each other so well. And there was a lot of history that when someone new came in, I think I always sort of felt like, like I wanted to include whoever the new person was. So I guess I just had that in mind and hoped that it would be like a similar experience. And it was. Like, I ended up kind of gelling with the guys right away.
Absolutely. You had great chemistry with them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't know if you've seen, okay, so if you're like a diehard fan, have you seen like Philip Tetro has been doing these TikTok videos?
No, but that's what I'm going to look at after this.
I'm sure he has like a Google alert for his name or something. And I say that with love. He's going to find this podcast and listen to me saying this. Love you, Philip. But yeah, he started making these like TikTok videos. And they would like pop up in I don't even have TikTok, but they were like popping up on my Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like behind the scenes of One Girl, 5 Gays, like what really happened. And I was like, oh God. Like, what is he going to say? What is he going to say?
Yeah.
He generally seems to have had nice things to say.
Oh, good.
But yeah, if you were a diehard, you gotta go. I'm
gonna go check it out. I loved it. I felt like when I was watching it, I remember just feeling like there is nothing like this on TV. There's nothing where, and not just like highlighting and celebrating the community, but also just the type of conversations and dialogue from so many different points of view. It was so wonderful. And yeah, your chemistry was so great. Like you called people out in like the way that friends do, in like the most loving way, where you're like, what are you talking about that happened or whatever? You had chemistry immediately. And I was like, oh, great job, Lauren. Here we are. Okay, great. I'm back.
Because I did feel, honestly, like I made pretty fast friends with those guys. Like they really did welcome me. And I have to give credit to, because it's so funny, like with these shows, these kind of like low budget, like network shows that, they're all kind of made like in-house.
Yeah.
I feel like the creators don't really get the love that they deserve, because they're kind of just, these were people who were like on staff at MTV that would basically just like sit around and come up with show ideas. And like Garrett Wintrip, Vanessa Larkey, and Callista Antoniuk, who all worked behind the scenes, were like the brains behind that show, and they brought it to life and made it what it was, and like believed in it and fought for it and made it so fun. So they were really like the heart of that show and made it what it is. And of course the guys were, I just sat there and let them do their thing.
No, like, and the host. Yeah, it was a family affair.
Like AJ was so fantastic too when she started, right? So I was nervous because like, she did such a great job, but I feel like it just gave it a little like different vibe. And also I think, most of my best friends are gay men, right?
Right.
So it felt very natural to me to kind of just like slip into that role, because that was how I was spending my Friday nights anyways, like sitting around and
I'm just getting paid for it. Great.
Ridiculous conversations.
Yeah.
So it just felt it felt like a natural, I was going to say role, but not a role, job for me to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, going on feeling natural, I'm curious if it felt natural. On Pretty Hard Cases, you play Yolanda Pesky. This is my transition that I'm like, we're going to go with this. Jake, Marty's girlfriend, played by your real life husband, Jonathan.
I know.
So you didn't get to act in any scenes together, but what was it like being on set together again after 17 years since Take the Lead? Like, what was that like?
Well, you know what? It's funny. We've actually done several things together.
No way.
Yeah. So we met, we kind of knew each other before Take the Lead, because again, like Toronto actor circle, people who started, like I started when I was 10, Jonathan started when he was 8. Like those of us that kind of came up at the same time, like everyone kind of just knew everyone. So I certainly knew who he was, but that was the first time we'd really worked together, and Take the Lead was, and got to know each other. And we were the like 2 local hires from the main cast, whereas everyone else was brought in from the States. So like they were all staying in a hotel together, and we were kind of like the 2 like outsiders.
Home.
Going home at the end of the night. So we really bonded over that and kind of like stuck together. I mean, everyone was so great and it was such a fun experience, but like I definitely felt like it was like the 2 of us kind of getting through that together. Then we worked together. Well, you mentioned Robert Downey Jr. We were both in Charlie Bartlett.
Oh,
so that was like,
he was in Charlie Bartlett too. Oh my God, amazing.
So that was like maybe a year or 2 later we did that. Then fast forward many years after we've already started dating, we were on a show together called The Strain. Like that was funny because that was like right around when we started dating.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was kind of funny. And then, most recently on Pretty Hard Cases, which was really felt like a reunion all around because Al McAdam, who is one of the leads on that show, is one of Jonathan's best friends and was on the very first show that I ever did when I was 11 years old. I was a 6th grade alien. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Small world, really.
We were all kind of like back together, and it was also just such like a funny role when they called and asked me to do it. I was like, duh, this seems amazing.
So
Yolanda,
fun.
Yo-Yo, like, please sign me up.
The hairstyle. I'm also like, Lauren, that hairstyle looks amazing on you. That like half up, half down, like Ariana Grande
I believe
thing.
They call that snatched.
Oh,
right?
perfect.
Like,
okay, great.
Woo,
oh, yeah,
like,
when it's like pulled right.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked so good on you. And I'm also like, oh, I love that it's like featuring the new dark hair. I guess not new now, but you know, the dark hair. Loved it. Loved it.
That was my like COVID. I had a baby right at the beginning of COVID, and I basically just like gave up on dyeing my hair and like let it like completely grow out.
Yeah.
And then after like literally working on it for like 2.5 years, I had to dye it back to blonde for something else.
Oh,
so
my
now
God.
I'm like again going through the process of just like growing it out, and it's kind of in this awkward mid stage.
Yeah. Is it, I mean, it just looks like you got a little ombre or something going on. It looks great.
I know. It's one of my natural ombre.
Yeah. It growed out.
Of me just being too lazy to do my highlights.
Yeah. No. I feel like maybe in the beginning it would have been like an awkward stage, but I feel like where it's at now, it just looks intentional. It looks great.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Let's go with that.
We're going to go with that.
It's intentional.
Is it like weird to, because I feel like for so much of your acting career, you've been blonde. Does it, and like hair color, at least for me, I was blonde for very blonde for a number of years.
Really?
It really changes like how I see myself. And I'm wondering, like, you've
For
also
sure.
seen yourself on screen and like these different characters. Is it really different having brunette?
I mean,
now.
I think like cat's out of the bag at this point, but like not a natural blonde.
What?
I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm as dark as you are, but like I do have, like I am like fully a brunette with like brown hair.
Yeah.
And only dyed it, but I dyed it when I was very young for a job, and then ended up getting Degrassi with the blonde hair, kept it.
Really?
And then obviously like really, I feel my truest self when I'm blonde, which is strange. Which I think is why now, like, sort of entering this, like, you know, it's kind of this, like, new phase of my career where I'm, like, finally starting to play roles that are closer to my real age.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, moms and this, like, new stage. Something about the dark hair just feels like fresher and newer, and trying to separate even more from that Degrassi association.
Yeah.
You know, blonde barrel curls, like
Barrel curls. Yeah. So nostalgic.
Yeah. So, but I completely get it. Like we really hide behind our hair and like clutch onto our hair, don't we? So yeah, so it's been quite freeing, I would say, to experiment with this brown hair.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I find people view me very differently if I'm blonde or if I'm brunette. Like even just like how they, I don't know, what characters they might think of right off the bat, and
Totally.
so that really like changes or if I have short hair or long hair. Like, it's a lot about like people's perceptions of these like different haircuts and hairstyles and hair colors. And it's like, it's silly because at the end of the day, you can be a mom or a high schooler with blonde hair or brunette, but it's like what people put on sometimes.
And
also,
and again, this comes back to the casting thing, but like, you know what? It's true. Like, you can cut hair. You can dye hair. But it's really true that like when you come into the room looking the way you look, like that is what they see.
Yeah.
That is really, it's hard to, you know, kind of think beyond that. I would say for a lot of people, you know, behind the scenes making decisions. So kind of I mean, I've always been too nervous to do anything short. How short have you gone? Like,
so I would go like here, I guess. Yeah. And I had that for like years. Actually, it was just COVID because my
just let it grow out.
The hair salon was closed. So it just kept canceling. And I was like, all right. And then I just booked something and got lazy and then it just grew. But I haven't had long hair since like before COVID. I haven't had long hair in a very long time. I cut it short. I had really long hair and then cut it short. And it felt wonderful. I had like a blunt bob for a really long time. And what I loved is I had to do nothing to it for it to look like I had styled it. It looked like I had just...
Oh my God, like just fresh out of the shower.
Yeah. I'm like,
that's
go.
What I dreamed
and because
for.
it was such a blunt cut, it looked like I had really styled it. And I'm like, this is fantastic. This low maintenance situation is wonderful. I loved it.
I commend you for that. I do not have the balls to do it. Like, I'm just too scared. And I have like I have a lot of hair, but I have very fine hair. I feel like I would just look like a drowned rat all the time.
Lauren, you're speaking to my heart. I don't have a lot and I have very fine hair. And actually I went to my... almost said therapist, which just like probably Freudian slip. I went to my hairdresser and was like,
because they are.
They really become. That's why you tip your hairdressers because they put up with a lot. I really wanted curtain bangs. This was like at the time when it was all the craze. And I was like, I want curtain bangs. And bless my hairdresser I also have very straight hair. She also has straight hair, fine hair. And she was like, I cannot do that to you. It's just going to be two little sticks beside your face. It's not, you want it to do like the curved, beautiful thing. You need
like the movement, right?
You need the movement and you need
some
like
body,
the
some
weight.
fullness to do that. Totally.
You'd have to go like halfway down my head and make it all curtain bang. Like it's not going to work. So she didn't. And I was sad. And then I went home and was like, because anytime I've had bangs, it's put in so much effort to like make them fun. So
I haven't, since I grew up my bangs when I was 8 years old. Yeah. I've never gone back. I used to have this like, talk about like starting in the middle of my head. Like started here. They were like so heavy. Like, I look at pictures now and I'm like, Mom, like,
you're like
what
drowning in your bangs. Yeah.
What were you thinking?
I did a job where they asked if they could like give me bangs like around my cheek because they were like getting me to match another like a real person. And I was like, sure. But then it got shorter and shorter and it very quickly was like my eyebrow, but it wasn't heavy. Like it wasn't heavy enough. So when I tried to then just lay them flat later on because I just had this hairstyle now, there was just always holes. Like you could just always see my forehead through my bangs. And I'm like, there has to be a happy medium between all of the top of my head being my bang and like,
just like little wispies.
5 little wisps. Like we need to, anyway.
You know, it's so funny. I had a baby at the beginning of COVID and I just had another baby, like he's 5 months now. And there's this really fun thing that happens where all your hair falls out.
Oh, perfect.
Postpartum.
What a joy.
So I'm just going through that now. And you get these like little baby hairs. Last time I was pretty lucky. It like didn't happen around my hairline, but it was like all under here. I just had this like weird short layer of hair. It's like the things that happen to your body that you just like don't understand. Yeah, so that's a really fun one.
So interesting. Oh yeah, it's like you're having like an undercut that's like growing out.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, okay, I did want to ask you on one of the things that's iconic about Yolanda, your character Yolanda, is her hand tattoos. And I'm just curious, like, which of her hand tattoos, if you had to get one of them permanently in the same location that you have it, which of her hand tattoos would you get? Because
oh my God,
they're pretty good. There's
not the foot, right? The foot was like the funniest one.
Yeah, maybe not the foot.
God, I wish I could remember.
Okay, what do we have? There's like a devil. There's like a flock of birds. There's a butterfly.
Oh, you know what there was? There was something that like kind of went up my wrist
a
little
flock
bit.
of birds, like flying birds.
And it was like, it was very fine. It was kind of like, that's almost that like, what's that? Is it stick and, it's not stick and poke, because I know there's like specific tattoo artists that like specialize in this like very, very fine tattooing. It would probably be something like that. Like just like very delicate, very fine. I don't have any tattoos.
Me neither.
I don't know if I would ever get one.
Yeah.
But I think if I actually, you know, hers were kind of ridiculous.
Yes.
But I actually do find like cute little hand tattoos to be like so cool, and I wish I could pull them off.
I know. Me too. I have no tattoos, and I've always wanted a tattoo. Or
what would you get?
Of Yolanda's, I think
or
I would
just
get,
like, do you have anything that you would?
I would
just,
love
like,
to
generally
get. Yeah, like I'd love to get. Like, I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind is like some sort of moon. I feel very I don't know anything about I don't know much about crystals, or I'm not really spiritual, but the moon
Me neither.
feels very much like connected to womanhood and
Isn't that like a Stevie Nicks thing? Doesn't Stevie Nicks always wear like a moon around her? I feel like I read something once, like she wears this like moon pendant, and she gave one to like each of the Haim sisters, like welcoming them like into like her sisterhood. And I'm like, that is like the fucking coolest thing ever. I would die to get a moon pendant from Stevie Nicks. Like, welcoming you into her sisterhood.
Wow. Well, maybe now I'll get a moon just for that. Like
her coven.
Yeah.
Right?
I would love to be a part of a coven of anyone that I think is like a good human being. I would love to be in a coven. You know who I would love to be in a coven with? Zoe Lister-Jones. Okay, can we
It's so funny. Speaking of like amazing hand tattoos, she has all these like really cool hand tattoos, and I was just like, those are so cool. You're so
just
cool.
Take a picture, and you're like, I would just like these, please. Just copy this picture. Okay, what was it like being directed by Zoe Lister-Jones?
She was a dream. That role was a dream. That project was a dream. Everything about it. Like, I didn't, you know, I had a lot to do when I was there, but like in the grand scheme of the show, like I'm pop up in one episode and have this like fun little thing. But her command of the set in the most like calming and assured and like graceful way was just like incredible to watch. I've never really had any aspirations to direct, but like if I ever did, she would be my model, because she just like owned it, but made it this like very like comfortable space. I just thought she was so cool. And I just like was like, oh my God. I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I got to watch you work.
So fun. Well, maybe your feature script, More Than a Friend, maybe you'll direct it. Who knows? I don't know.
More Than a Friend, the feature script that will just never see the light of day.
It will. Listen, we're going to do like a reunion of this episode in 10 years, and you're going to be like, yeah, I made it 9 years ago. It happened.
Can you believe?
It already
believe that we made it?
Yeah. Can you believe that I directed it? And can you believe that I cast Zoe Lister-Jones and I directed her? What manifesting things.
I would die.
Well, in the show Slip, the main character, May, played by Zoe, is transported to different dimensions of what her life could be every time she has an orgasm. Fucking brilliant premise. So if you were to transport to a completely different life, with the caveat that you love your life now, like we're saying that, but if you were to go to a completely different life, let's say for like a week, you get to come back and see Jonathan and Charlie and Leo, like you're not abandoning them. Yeah. What would that life look like? Where would you be living? What would you be doing?
Oh my God, that is such a good question. You know what I think I have to say? Even though like, you know, it doesn't really feel that... I mean, it is very different from my life right now, but I've been doing a rewatch of Sex and the City.
Oh, great.
And because I just can't get behind the new show, and
I'm so
I've
glad
been
you
watching
said that.
it.
Yeah.
I've been watching it with Jonathan, and he had never seen the original. And I was like, okay, this is not a good representation of the show.
Don't judge it based on this.
You have to go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
So I think if I could just like step into another life right now, it would be like living like in New York.
Yeah.
Maybe on my own.
Yeah.
As like Jonathan walks by with our child, like, sorry.
But you get to come back and you love this life. This is just for a week of trying it out. Yeah.
I think like I will always, I feel like that ship has sailed. That's sort of what I was getting to. Like as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, I will never have that time of like living in New York and just like walking around the streets at like 3 a.m. in my high heels, like she does so gracefully. That ship has sailed, and I would love to live that. I would love to live that right now.
Oh, that would be amazing. I don't know if it's like the actor. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, and then on the flip side, like I also have this fantasy of like living on a farm.
Oh, interesting.
and just quiet, peaceful space, lots and lots of space. I always like when I really start to think about it, I'm like, Lauren, you would be so scared. You would just be scared all the time in your like
in New York
farmhouse.
Oh, in your farmhouse. I thought you meant in New York. No, you mean in the farmhouse.
I think New York, like there's always people around.
I feel
right?
the same.
So it's so lively and full. But yeah, I have a friend who at the beginning of the pandemic, like packed up his life and moved to Prince Edward Island, and he like bought a like dilapidated farmhouse there and is like slowly flipping it. And I'm like, that seems pretty amazing too.
Yeah.
So 2 ends of the spectrum.
2 ends.
Both very appealing to me.
We'll give you both. You can do 1 week in New York and then 1 week on the farm. I'm with you that I would be scared. I want, if I scream, for them to be like somebody literally already right beside me that I can grab, like in New York or Toronto. And a farmhouse sounds so wonderful. And then also, I mean, I don't want to be on a farm, but the quietness sounds so wonderful.
Like, actually, the farm is not for me.
Yeah. I'm like, here I am wanting to chat with you. I'm like, I'm going to be honest here. Don't love the farm, but I do love the idea of space.
I don't know that I would want to like tend to any of the animals.
Okay, great. I don't want any animals. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I just want a beautiful old house on a big land with grass and the sun.
Acres. Like how many acres
I want
can we get? That's what I'm...
Yeah. But then I know like a couple days, like I'm going to be scared. I know I'll be scared.
I'm going to be scared, and I'm going to want like a really like fancy coffee or something.
Oh yeah, there you go. 100%. And I'm like, if somebody, like sometimes when I'm just driving out in the country and I look and the houses are so far apart and I think if someone wanted to come murder, like what is stopping anybody? That's what it feels like.
Oh yeah.
What is stopping
That's
anyone?
where the fear creeps in.
Okay, great. Well, on that note, that's fabulous. I often like think about, I don't know, I guess like maybe it's the actor part because we get to play different lives and get to like experience that, which is so fun. It's really hard for me to actually accept, like when you were saying, oh, that, you know, the opportunity to go to New York and live that life right now, that ship has sailed. It is so hard for me to accept that ships have sailed. Many ships have sailed.
I know.
So hard for me to accept that.
Aging, right?
Yeah. I guess you just have to write a script where you are at a farmhouse where you don't die, or you with acreage. You write an acreage script, and then you get to play it.
And then I just get to go live there for a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah. That's what we do. That's the answer. We'll write Sex in the City. So you mentioned your little boys, Charlie and Leo, who's 3 and 5 months. Yes. Yeah. So I'm curious, like, in what ways has motherhood helped your career?
You know, I think this sounds like such a rote answer, but it really does kind of just put things into perspective.
Yeah.
Like the job, the like career, like is not everything. There are more important things in life. And I think once I was able to kind of like accept that and like release some of that pressure that we put on ourselves as actors, like I feel like I've had some of the best years of my career since I've been a mom. It's hard. It's definitely harder. There's a lot more to negotiate and to, you know, it's like when it's not just you, all of a sudden you have other people to think about. Like really, really think about because they depend on you. It just gives you a lot of perspective. And also I think in just like a more, like in just like a practical way, like something that I've noticed, you know, we're all like, it's COVID times. We're all self-taping everything. I used to, like relish in that time and take as long as I wanted and do a million takes. And now it's like Jonathan and I like running around in our underwear. I'm like blow drying my hair. I have like a baby on my tit, like trying to, okay, I'm going to put him down and you set up the gear and then I'm going to do this. And it's like, and then we have 5 minutes to do an audition tape. And you're just like, okay, let's put that out into the world. Because I don't have the time to just like stress and whatever.
Yeah.
And I think like you end up, you're not like building everything up so much in your head because you just like, you don't have the bandwidth to do that. And it just like, it just like releases some of that pressure. And all of a sudden, I don't know, you're not like stressed so much about it because you just literally don't have time to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it requires, or like you're asked to think about yourself to probably like an unhealthy degree in this career. Even the conversation we're having about how genuinely like your hair color can lose you a job. Like they can go with the other person because they are thinking, oh, well, we have a blonde and a brunette. We'll just go with the blonde rather than asking the brunette to dye her hair. Like, totally. So that can make such a difference. And you're always asked, what's your brand? And the job asks you to think about yourself a lot. And so I really could imagine, I don't have any kids, but I could really imagine having another person who like matters to you more than yourself, or just that you have to think of outside of yourself. And it's not a like a full of yourself thing. It's just like that's the career. That's the job. You're just asked to think about yourself a lot. So it just is what it is.
It's inherently like vain to be an actor, right?
Yeah, you have to. You're like, what's your brand? What do you bring to the table? Blah blah. And it's like, oh wait, Charlie needs lunch. Great. That's more important right now. Or like you said,
that
whatever.
is more important.
Yeah, that's more important
like,
than,
they need anything and you're just like, I'm there, right?
Yeah, bye. Yeah. How has
so it's been nice. It's been freeing.
Oh, freeing. I like that. To share, like, I am not sure yet if I want kids or not, but that I have felt like this career and kids, like I have a hard time, or I have had a hard time in the past, like seeing how they come together. Yeah. And I'm realizing this season, especially on the podcast, I'm asking a lot of young moms, like a lot of people, how are you doing
on
this?
The brain. It's on the brain.
Yeah.
And like, look, don't get me wrong. It is so fucking hard. Like it is exhausting. Like I think the last 3 days my day started at like 2 a.m, 4 a.m, and then this morning it was like 5.
Yeah, you got to sleep in till 5.
It is.
Like,
it is a grind.
Yeah.
And your life is just like turned on its head. So I would say it's so funny. Like I feel like a lot of the advice that I would give to young actors is not that far off from what I would give to someone who's like thinking about having a child. In that, like, you have to really, really, really know that you want it. Like deep down in your gut, you need to know that you want to be an actor, and you need to know that you want to have kids because they both kind of like take over your life. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I think it's unavoidable that wanting to be pursuing being an actor and being a parent, like it's going to take over your life. I totally agree. Agree. I don't know, but I can see that. And I'm wondering, like, are there any ways that you've found to take some of that back for yourself so that you're not like along for the ride all the time,
Yeah. I think I'm still figuring that out. I think having a partner who is in the same position helps a lot because we can just like talk through those things together. It can also be challenging in other ways because we're, also both trying to like work on like our own projects and make things happen, and just finding time to do that is so hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I had a better answer for that, but like I really do feel like I'm still just trying to figure it out.
Also, your babes are very young. They are. They're very young. So like I think also young. This is the time when that ends up happening. Like I just it's
like the only thing I can think of is like daycare.
Right.
Like I'm very happy that we chose to put Charlie in daycare.
Yeah. Good. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. What's something that you wish you knew about being pregnant or about pregnancy before you got pregnant? Being pregnant really scares me. Like maybe it's the out of control thing. It really scares me.
I had a very easy pregnancy with Charlie, and I had a very difficult pregnancy with Leo.
Oh, no.
So even like having been through it once, you know, I was like, oh, I got this. This is going to be fine. And then it was like, oh no, this is a very different situation. Like I felt like crap all the time.
Yeah.
Everything hurt. Like I was just like so much more tired because you have, you know, a toddler also that you're running around after. Yeah, pregnancy is full of surprises.
Yeah.
But, you know, because the theme of this chat today seems to be about hair, I will say that before it all falls out, after you give birth, you have like the most incredible hair because all that hair that's going to fall out later stops falling out.
Right,
so it's just like thick and luscious and yeah, that was really nice. And I have to say, and like this again is like just crazy actor talking, but like to all of a sudden, like to not care about what I look like.
Oh yeah, interesting.
For once,
yeah,
was very nice. Just to kind of like eat what I want and do what I want and just sort of really kind of like relish in my body. That was nice. That felt good.
Well, you've been acting since what? You were 10 or something? Like,
yeah.
So you've been in a career since you were 10 that doesn't only like think about what you look like, but it is a huge part of it. And
really
wardrobe
is.
And whatever, like it's always a huge part of it. So
yeah, there's no getting around that.
Yeah. So then to have this moment where you get to just like be a human being where that is not the forefront, I could see how absolutely freeing that would be. Like
it really was.
Oh,
it
wow.
Really
did
was.
it stay through after pregnancy? Like, did any of that residual, like, who cares stay with you? Or did it just come right back once you started working again?
Then after, you're like, well, gotta hit the gym now that
that fucking pressure on people after they've been pregnant. I'm like, they just created a you, like an entire, this person, whoever is judging you, they just created you. They just created a full heart that's going to keep a person alive for the rest of their life. Like,
but you better be looking like back to what you looked like right before. No, I think there's a lot more allowance for that right now. And I think people are, you know, more like empathetic to that experience, and there's more room to, you know, kind of enjoy that like postpartum body too.
I hope so.
But yeah, you know, and also like people really, like you see a pregnant woman and you're like, oh, that's so sweet, she's pregnant.
Yeah.
But like the hardest part is the fourth trimester. The hardest part of pregnancy is after the baby comes and like those 3 or 4 months right after, like you're a mess. Your hormones are crazy. You're like trying to keep this little person alive.
Oh.
And that's the part that you can't see, right? Like I can't walk out onto the street after I've had, like, unless maybe if I have my baby with me, but like that's when women need the support. Much more so than when they're pregnant, I find. It's in those months after. So I would keep that in mind for anyone, you know, with any pregnant friends.
Absolutely.
They're going to need you the most after the baby comes.
Yeah.
For sure.
What were the things that friends or family or things did during that 4th trimester that you found like especially helpful?
I mean, my mom is incredible. She is like super supportive and really knows when to like back off and when to come in and help. And, you know, she's also like, if I, you know, hadn't slept or was like really running on empty, and if I like freaked out on her or something, she got it. I sound like I'm getting emotional, but I'm actually coughing. But it does make me emotional. It does make me emotional because she really was like so supportive through all of that. And what else? Like, don't be afraid to lean on people. I think I did have I did have a tough time with that. I just kind of wanted to, again, control, another theme. Just like do as much of everything on my own, and like it really does, like, you need to lean on people around you. So don't forget that. What else? Yeah, I don't know.
I think it was actually like a photo, not a photo journal, but like, you know how photographers will post like, here's a small series of my, okay, one of those on Instagram or Tumblr or something, where it was a photo of a mother and a baby after labor. And it was like focused, like the baby was in the forefront and the mom was in the background. And it said something like, after birth, when or nurses or whatever, people are always asking, how's the baby? And the first thing should be, how's the mom? And that just always stuck with me of like, and everyone was crowded around the baby and the mom was in the background on the hospital bed. And it was just kind of like, yeah, the mom just went through like major surgery or like has stitches or is swollen or is also, like you said, has so many hormones coming through and everyone's focused on the baby. And it's like, this is another human being who just went through a beautiful, amazing, and also traumatic experience in some sense. So like we got to support that also. Just like, bring me all the food, hold my baby, bring me all the food, kiss my forehead. Like
my second delivery. And like, I just had this feeling that this was going to happen. I don't know why. So it's almost like I like willed it into existence. But look, everyone has their own personal birth story and like path that they want to take. And it's like a very personal decision. And I understand there's like a spectrum of what people want to do. But I knew that I wanted to give birth in a hospital with every drug that they could possibly put into my body to make it as painless as possible.
Yeah.
And that's what I did with my first. And I was very lucky. Everything, went fine. And with Leo, for like weeks leading up to it, I kept thinking like I was going to go early and like I was having contractions and whatever. And then when the night finally did come, I like woke up in the middle of the night, my water broke, and I was like, oh my God, we have to go to the hospital right now. And within 2 hours of that, he was born. So I delivered him without an epidural. And let me tell you,
I just got chills.
The female body is an incredible thing. And like after having lived through that, and again, I know a lot of people do this by choice. A lot of people choose to experience birth like naturally. But when you're not prepared for that and then it's foisted upon you, that was insanity. And I will just always be in admiration of any woman who, decides to have a baby, because it is like a trauma.
Yeah.
It is truly a trauma that your body goes through.
And then if you I feel like a lot of the time, if we ever acknowledge the reality that it is a trauma, it somehow negates any of the love or appreciation or gratitude. Like people aren't allowed to say like, that was fucking traumatic, where it's like, nobody's saying you don't love your baby and nobody's, and I'm like, listen, it can be, like, you can be awestruck and it can be magic. Like, this is truly magic. Talk about a coven. Like, everyone who's had a baby deserves Stevie Nicks' pendant of a moon.
Moon
pendant. Because, like, it is incredible that it's able to happen. And also, it sounds so terrifying and traumatic. I mean, talk about being out of control. Yeah, you're like, okay, saving grace, I'll be able to get the epidural and I won't feel this watermelon coming out of me. Yeah. And then it's like, never mind, there's no time. And you're like, sorry,
I'm going to feel everything.
Yeah, and you can't opt out. You can't be like, okay, never mind, I don't want to do it.
This is happening. That is literally what I remember saying to myself. I was just like, there is no turning. Like, you have to do it.
You physically
just
can't.
Do it.
Yeah, your body's going to do it whether your mind wants to or not. That is the part that, like...
It's crazy.
Thank God we're drinking wine.
And it does kind of make you think like, oh, like maybe I can do anything if I did that.
You can cut your hair, Lauren. You gave, only if you want to. There's no pressure if you don't want to. But if you wanted to, 100% you can. You gave.
I can.
You felt all the feelings of giving birth to a child.
Yeah.
Mind blown. And you know what else? You also gave birth on an epidural. That is also wild to me. Like both of them are so... I'm like in awe. You grew both of them, all of it. If you want to cut your hair, you cut your fucking hair. Anyway, and also your hair is something that on Instagram I've just been like, God damn, her hair is gorgeous and like,
oh, that's so nice.
Luscious.
Thank you.
And I'm like,
thank you. I told you it's the pregnancy hair, and now it's all falling out. So
I'm gonna get pregnant just for the hair. So not for the labor. I will get pregnant for the hair. Okay, well, this has been so fun. So to wrap up today, I've pulled a few of questions from random episodes that you've hosted of One Girl, Five Gays, because I often find I love the dialogue that happens on the show. And also, like, you and AJ as hosts sometimes get to answer, but don't often get to answer because you're hosting and, you know, the cast is answering. So
Totally.
I pulled some fun ones. Okay. So, okay.
Great.
It is the month.
Not any of the like particularly dirty ones.
Nope,
I hope.
absolutely not. I was like, this is the first time Lauren and I are meeting. I'm going to preface, none of these are sexual. None of them, they are all G-rated. 100%.
Great.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Love it.
The first one is the most sexual, and it is G-rated. Okay, so yeah. No, I'm like, we don't know each other like that yet. Yeah, because I was like, oh, I'd be curious what the host answers. Okay, so because we're in the month of Halloween, okay, so your first question is, in someone else, like, to see, like, what's more attractive in somebody? If they're wearing a sexy costume or if they're wearing a creative costume?
Oh, absolutely a creative costume.
I agree.
I feel like that is the only answer.
Yeah.
Like, I want something witty.
Yeah.
I want something like a really obscure pop culture reference. I feel like everyone who's like, you know, I feel like there's going to be a lot of Kens this year.
Oh my God, yeah.
And there, it's like they can kind of get away with like being culturally relevant and sexy. So
Totally.
there's going to be tons of Kens. But yeah, definitely creative costume all the way.
Yeah, I'm with you. Spirit Halloween is like sold out of everything Barbie. I went for like, I'm going to an 80s party and we're like, oh, let's just go to Spirit Halloween. Like, they have Halloween costumes. I'm sure they'll have 80s stuff. And yeah, the whole wall of Barbie was sold out. But
Done.
I'm with you. I want a costume that I don't understand at first. I want a costume someone has to explain to me.
That
and then I'm
needs
like,
explaining.
oh, yeah. That's what I want too. Okay, great. Okay, best day of high school, real high school. Since you always get asked about Degrassi High School, what about real high school? What was one of your favorite days of high school?
Best day of real high school.
This was,
oh my God, that is like a shockingly difficult question
100%,
because it really does blur together. You know what I'm going to say?
Yeah.
I'm going to say it probably wasn't like my first day, but I would say like within the first week of grade 9, I had second lunch, and not many people had second lunch. That's like when you had like a spare on second period that ended up being your lunch. And my future best friend, Lauren Shum,
also
came
Lauren?
up to me. Yeah, her name is Lauren too.
And Lauren C? Were you both Lauren C?
No, she was S. Lauren S.
Oh,
Shum.
okay.
But she came up to me and God, it all comes back to this. She had recognized me from a TV show that I was on, and she made fully made fun of me, but like in like an already loving way. And like from that moment, she like called me my character name. And like from that moment on, I was just like, this is going to be my person.
Wow.
And then, you know, fast forward a million years, and we both have 2 kids that were born. Each of them were born within 6 weeks of the other. So like our first ones are 6 weeks apart. Our second ones are 6 weeks apart. And, yeah, she still gives me shit all the time and makes fun of me, but like that's
the
let's
best.
go with that.
That's the best.
Yeah.
No, but that's what you need. That's what I found. Like, that's how I knew, oh, you have great chemistry with the guys on One Girl, Five Gays. Because I'm like, look, you're doing that too. See?
There
Oh,
you
that's
go.
wonderful. Wow. And the kid thing, like, that's incredible. I hope that's in my cards, truly, if I ever have kids. I want someone who's getting pregnant, like, right around the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, my last question for you is there a piece of clothing that you've kept for sentimental reasons?
Definitely. I am like a borderline clothes hoarder.
Yeah.
I can think of like 10 things that I've kept. I've kept okay. I have so many pieces of clothing are coming because I've kept stuff of my own. I've kept other people's clothes. Like I have, you know, I lost my dad, God, almost 10 years ago now. And I have this like winter jacket of his that I will treasure forever. And I like a shirt of his as well. So certainly those I've kept for sentimental reasons. I have, the like classic Paige, little red hottie top. I've got that, and I will never ever part ways with that.
No, you can't. You can't. What is it? New year, new look, new page? Yeah,
new page. No,
you gotta keep that.
Yeah, and like I have a sweater from my grandmother, so things like that. Like I have a lot of sentimental. I find clothes to be very like evocative of memory, and even just like I have a jacket of my grandmother's that like it's a fur. I'm sorry, it's a fur coat, but you know,
didn't buy it.
It was my grandmother's. I didn't buy it. And when you open the like dust bag that it's in, it's like whoosh, like her perfume just like hits you and knocks you out. Yeah, so lots of sentimental.
Yeah.
Oh, these were good questions.
They were good questions. Good job, team. Do you still have your clown baby blanket that I saw in Degrassi Unscripted? Do you still have that?
Oh my God. Okay, let's just talk about how maybe I want to say 2 weeks ago, Jonathan and I are like, what are we going to watch? And we're on Amazon Prime. And I was like, oh, dear God. Oh, dear God, this is available. And truly, I actually have been meaning, I need to post this on my Instagram. I need to take a clip of it and post it on my Instagram.
You do.
Because truly the most embarrassing thing that has ever escaped my mouth is in that episode of Unscripted where I am asked the question, who would I have dinner with, dead or alive, if I could?
Yeah. You're talking to Aubrey, right? I'm
talking to Aubrey.
In the makeup chair.
And
yeah.
My answers are Bob Marley.
Yep.
Coco Chanel.
Yep.
Johnny Depp. That didn't age well.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Aniston, I think. That's
fine.
maybe the only one that I'm like,
fine.
okay,
Sure.
I would still. And I can't remember who the last one was, but I mean,
so good.
That like 1, 2, 3 punch of Bob Marley, Coco Chanel, and Johnny Depp. I'm like, who the fuck was I trying to impress with this collection of people? Mortifying.
No,
absolutely mortifying.
That episode was so fun to watch because we're similar in age, and I just thought, like, if anyone asked me to do that at that age, there is nothing that you could have said or done that you wouldn't be your face right
horrified
now.
By.
You wouldn't.
Absolutely
also,
horrified.
You were on MSN, and it made me so happy.
Oh,
so happy. I was like, I want to go back. And then all the VHSs of like that your parents had recorded. The clothing everything. Was so fun to see and then you went, and my favorite thing in my room, and you pulled something out that I thought was going to be a Bible, and I was like, oh, interesting. But then you unzipped it, and it was a CD case. I'm like, there we go. That's okay. Got it. I thought it was like a Bible cover. And then you went through, and I thought, wow, she's so into music. She's so knowledgeable about music. So Bob Marley didn't surprise me because I just thought, it's her CD collection.
God. I think I had like a Bob Marley. Like I can name like 3 Bob Marley songs now. Like, oh my God, so more. Like Jonathan was like crying, laughing when we were watching this.
Of course, I'm sure he was imagining if he had to do it at that time, what it would be. There's just no one on the planet that would have been filmed at. How old were you? You were like 18, 17, like you were a child.
Yeah, I think I was probably like 17.
Yeah, so like there's no way if somebody filmed a 17-year-old being like, give me a tour of your room and your favorite things, and then years later in their 30s being like, how'd you feel? Everyone's gonna say horrifying. Anyway, so it was a gift.
100%.
I watched it last night. It made me so happy and even more excited to talk to you.
That is so funny.
So maybe the clown baby blanket, maybe you could give to Charlie or Leo. That's cute. Generational.
Yeah, actually, I don't know that I still have that.
Okay, you could find it again. You could find another blanket. Anyway, this was so wonderful to chat with you and get to know you. You're such a dream. I mean, I'm not surprised. I already knew you were a dream, but it's been so lovely.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun and so easy and such natural conversation. And I'm so happy that we were able to do it.
I know, me too. That's lovely. Oh, now I have like warm fuzzy feelings for the rest of my day. It's so nice. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Liquid Courage podcast. If you liked what you saw and you're looking to support the show, here's a few ways you can help. You can leave the show a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, or you can follow the show on Instagram and TikTok at Liquid Courage Podcast. Or, and best of all, you can tell a friend about the show. Tell a family member, tell a coworker, post about your favorite episode online. Spread the word. That really is the best way to help support the show and help it grow. Did I just rhyme? Okay, until the next episode, cheers.